Good day to all you friends of folk music and welcome to Common Sense Music's Musical Journeys. My name is Tom Perotti, Education Director, and I'm very pleased today to be talking to Armin, and Ben Gagliardi of Rhode Island's own the Vox Hunters. Thanks for joining me, folks. Appreciate it. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
I We're not going to dwell on this, but I want folks to know that you've got a lot more going on than just being musicians, and there's quite a bit going on there. We'll talk about that through this interview. But just to put a bug in your ear, audience members, Armand is also a maker of violins, a luthier. He'll do a repair as well. And Ben, I believe you studied entomology.
That's right.
And is presently the lab coordinator for the Edna Lawrence Nature Lab at RISD. So these guys have a lot going on. But today we're going to focus on their musical journeys and help each other out and help me out. But I'm going to ask, how did this all start for you, Armand, and then Ben? How did you get involved with music?
So for me, it was kind of a strange route. So other than the failed recorder attempt at like fourth grade, didn't pick up music for a while until my freshman year of high school. I was taking Tai Chi lessons at I think it was called like Garden City Tailors. It was a tailor shop right in a corner of Garden City, and the owner's father was from China, and he had moved to Rhode Island from New York City after 9/11, and so they'd close the shop, and then the owner would pick up her father and bring him over to the shop, and he'd teach me Tai Chi lessons. And I did that for a while, and there was one day where my dad was paying for the lessons, and I was kind of just looking around the shop, and there was a little poster board that said everything that they offered as far as lessons go. And so they had like guitar, ballet, crochet, knitting.
Huh.
It was a really large list, and one of the things was violin. And I thought, oh, I didn't think that was a possibility. There's for some reason in my head, I always thought that the violin was this ancient. I mean, is sort of ancient, an ancient instrument that you need to be super rich to play. But lo and behold, I could switch from Tai Chi to violin.
There it was. Interesting.
In the Garden City Plaza.
Wow.
So I eventually switched over to that, and the owner of the shop was the one who taught me how to play, but she never actually showed me how to play the instrument. Like, she never demonstrated. She only just told me, oh, hold this and do this, because her son back in the day had taken Suzuki violin lessons and just happened to have his old violin in the back closet. And so she just taught me how to play from what she remembered from those Suzuki lessons that she sat in on. So that's pretty much how I got into violin.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then when I was a sophomore at LaSalle Academy, the photography teacher there, Bill Connors, was taking fiddle lessons from Jimmy Devine in Cranston.
Mm-hmm.
And so he saw that I always brought in my fiddle before string ensemble, and so he just asked me like, "Oh, do you want to start a Celtic Arts Club?" And I thought, I have no idea what this is. Sure, it's an excuse to play, so I'll do that. That's kind of how it all started for me, randomly.
Thanks, Armand. And Ben, how about you?
On my side, Armin and I both share the same early musical discouragement thanks to the recorder. So I think a lot of people probably have that story. I was very, very uninterested in music, playing music, singing, anything like that for a long time after the recorder. But I guess Armin's story is fortuitous curiosity and mine's fortuitous procrastination. I was doing something in the attic, working on homework or something, and I didn't want to do that, so I started searching through drawers and somewhere up in the attic, and I found these old cassettes of my parents, and I decided they were much more important to listen to. So I had a listen, and it happened to be a local Connecticut Irish sea shanty band called the Morgans, who are all still around and playing music. And my parents aren't folkies, but they used to go to bars and pubs and stuff in Hartford after baseball games just for something to do. And the Morgans were kind of the house band of Mad Murphy's and a couple of other bars that they've told me stories about, but maybe I've blocked out some of the stories for no need to know that detail. But yeah, they had albums and records and cassettes, and I listened to them, and I don't know why, but I was taken by the fact that I could understand all the words, and there was a story involved, and then I heard one track that had accordion on it, which my uneducated brain told me, "Oh, squeeze box, I'll get one of those." So I out of no knowledge of what I actually wanted to do with it. My first instrument was a concertina, and I got a crappy one on eBay and started playing. And then we actually saw an advertisement, my dad and I, for the Morgans doing a Christmas concert somewhere, and he was surprised they were still around. And we went and met them, and they hooked me up with all kinds of other ways of learning and types of music to get into, and they've been friends and influences ever since.
What town did you grow up in, Ben?
Berlin, Connecticut. So my parents are from New Britain, Berlin, in the Hartford area.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's I have an interesting journey of my own with Irish music. The folk festival brought the Clancy brothers to town, and actually they were already popular in town. But so we grew up in Newport with the songs. The tunes came later, and I started to embrace, in kind of a haphazard way myself, the playing of Irish tunes. I don't have your talents. I think Armand, how old were you, Armand? I played one gig with Armand when he was 13, maybe 14. You were already
Was that with Mary
with
King?
Mary King. We did a wedding together.
Oh God, that was
So
was that in, like near Wickford or East Greenwich or something?
it was
Or-
over in South County somewhere. I'm not sure where it was, but
Oh my God,
I was
yeah,
impressed with you playing back then, and here we are today. But
yeah.
and I'd like to come back to the concertina in a moment. But along the way, what experiences did you have as youths coming up that really you've already shared some of it, but was there a magical moment? Was there a concert, or was there a teacher that really had an impact on you?
Yeah, for me, it was sort of a number of things. So I mentioned that Bill Connors at LaSalle Academy and we co-founded the Celtic Arts Club there, and eventually, he told me, "Oh yeah, so I've been taking lessons from Jimmy Devine. He hosts house concerts at his place in Cranston, and in fact, there's one coming up, and you should go." And I was like, "Oh, okay, house concerts. What does that even mean? I've only ever been to like Lupo's." Actually, maybe not at 13, but so I decided to go, and so it turned out that my first concert of Irish music was by three musicians. There was Tina Leck, Dana Lynn, and Junji Shirota, and they're all of Asian descent, and they had a band called the Rice Paddies,
Hmm.
and that was my first interaction with live Irish music, and that just totally blew me away. And it was really, really cool to see people that looked like me. I'm like, oh, okay, well, this seems like something I could do. Okay, great. I guess I'm gonna start taking lessons from Jimmy. And so soon after that, that's when I started taking lessons, and that was probably like the first of many magical moments, throughout my folk music career. But yeah, what about you?
I'm just trying to think now. The Morgans that I mentioned, they were very influential to me starting out, because I really started with C music. shanties and stuff like that, and kind of American sea music and traditional Irish music just kind of intermingle for some reason. It's like the whole pirate effect. All pirates have an Irish accent for some reason. Just that weird stereotype that goes with it. So inevitably, I got into Irish music as well. And we've both played Irish music for a long time. We the two of us met through Irish music. But the thing that really made me excited about playing folk music was Don Sinetti, one of the guys in the Morgans. He immediately said, "Oh, you have to go to the Mystic Sea Music Festival." Really, really early on when I started playing music, especially to go to all the squeeze box workshops and see all the concertinas and accordions and stuff like that. So he got me and my dad some tickets to the festival. I don't remember when this was. I was still in high school, and I just saw so many different types of music, so much singing, harmony singing. I remember, I think that year I saw like Finest Kind for the first time, and like just jaw-droppingly gorgeous harmony singing, and different fiddle styles, banjo styles, different types of concertina, seeing so much diversity all kind of brought together in one thing, sea music. It made me aware of how many choices I had of instruments to learn or types of songs to sing. One person that I met very briefly there, who would later become a huge inspiration and a close friend and mentor, was Jeff Davis. As I I went through sea music, I did Irish music for a long time. We still play Irish music, but not too actively as we used to. Growing up in Connecticut, I went to Irish sessions in Hartford with P.V. O'Donnell and Gene Freeman, and in New Haven with Joe Gerhard, and a couple of other. There was one in Wallingford that was only 20 minutes away from where I lived in Berlin. Paul Pender and Gina Dunlap and a bunch of other folks there that taught me a lot of tunes, the old-fashioned way. They'd kind of sit me down and say, "Oh, learn this tune right now." But later on, getting in more into singing like we do now. I mean, we mostly do folk songs. We do Rhode Island songs. We do whatever we want, really. But Jeff Davis was the guy who made me aware that one of the most exciting places to learn music is not from the popular bands out nowadays, but to go back to the old collections.
Mm-hmm.
He grew up with Jeff Warner, and they were a singing duo for a long time. Jeff Warner is the son of Frank and Ann Warner, the Warner collection. So he was kind of steeped in sort of source singers, authentic stuff, stuff that was still passed down orally rather than from CDs and stuff. So learning about source singers and different styles, just music appreciation. And I think the thing that Jeff is really good at is interpretation of folk songs. So hearing something and then either deciding to mimic it exactly or have your own twist on it, and especially taking sheet music off a page or a set of lyrics off a page and making it
your own.
Yeah, making it your own, giving it life. That's the type of stuff that we're mostly concerned with now.
Well, you're really helping us to celebrate the power of local music. You mentioned so many musicians from Connecticut, excuse me, that I'm not familiar with. But before we get to your latest album, I did want to ask you about your English and your Anglo concertinas. Lacanel, is that how you pronounce it? How do you pronounce
La Chanel.
La Chanel and the Jeffries? And I know a little bit because I tried it once. I bought, I'm not going to mention the name, it's a very mechanically sound instrument, but it sounded like a toy. And I couldn't stay with it. And I realized I needed quite a bit of money, or I had to wait in line for quite a while to get a quality concertina. And I gave it up, and I went back to the accordion. But so you have two very fine concertinas, one being an English, one being an Anglo. Can you tell me a little bit about each and the different style?
We actually just happen to have them right next to us.
All right.
Here. So we each, or we ordered our concertinas from a guy down in Cumberland, Maryland. His name's Jeff Thomas, and so this is mine right here. I'm not sure if you can.
It's a beauty. Yep, we
Yeah.
can see it. Yep.
And its cousin.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so they were more or less commissioned at the same time. Got them, what, 2 years ago or something like that?
Yeah, so the two that you mentioned, the Lachanel and the Jeffries, they are no longer with us.
Oh.
Armin sold his Lachanel to a friend.
Yes, and it's still in the family.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
I was fortunate enough that Jeffries, like you're saying, Tom, like you either have to have a huge wad of cash or a long wait time, or usually both. I would never be able to afford a Jeffries. Jeffries is one of the great makers. Wheatstone and Jeffries are like the old makers of concertinas. Those concertinas still, nothing sounds quite as good as them. Some things get close, but you don't have that old sound. But my friend Linda Mann, who was a concertina player I met in Connecticut, was kind enough to lend me that Jeffries for about 2 years because she had the bellows replaced and she wanted me to play them in.
Yeah, and so with Jeff Thomas, he's up until I asked him to make an English concertina, he's only ever made Anglo concertinas.
Oh, interesting.
And so that's actually one of the reasons why I wanted to ask him to do it, is because I wanted something that would hopefully lend itself well to Irish music. And because he had never done one before, I was like, oh, well, maybe I can ask for all these custom things and he'll make them for me. So this English concertina is, if you were to go from this to any other English concertina, you might get pretty confused about the way it's set up. But one of my favorite features about it is that I came up with this idea for pinky air buttons. So right there, normally you have an air button probably like here or so, and you can't really play it with your thumb because your thumb is stuck in the strap. You'd have to use your index finger. But since my instrument is anchored on my knee, I don't really need to use my pinkies for stabilization all the time. So it just makes opening and closing really easy. It's very nice.
Yeah.
But tell us what's the essential difference between the Anglo and the English?
It's kind of, they always say that the Anglo-German is the push-pull system. So it's like a harmonica. It's diatonic, has 2 notes per button. So if you press a button down on the Anglo and you squeeze, you get 1 note, and you pull, you get a different note. So 2 for the price of 1.
Mm-hmm.
There's different sets of reeds that use the same hole that you're opening when you press the button, and as the air goes through them one way, one set of reeds works, makes 1 note. As the air goes back the other way, it triggers a different set of reeds.
And then for the English concertina, it's kind of like the piano accordion versus the button accordion. So you have the same note in both directions, and that means that you can get chord voicings that you might not normally get on a diatonic instrument, which means that like playing Bach and like other classical music stuff works out pretty well. So if you were to take all the push notes and put them onto the left side of the instrument and took all the pull notes off a diatonic and put it on the right hand side, then that's pretty much what this is. So instead of
Confused yet?
Yeah, instead of like like that, you're actually going ba 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 ba. So you're kind of like playing some weird ping pong. So
Thank you. Thank you.
And the one thing that's the stereotypic characterization of these 2 styles of instruments is that the Anglo concertina that I play, it has a built-in rhythm because you have to go back and forth and push and pull. That umpat thing, that's kind of just, it's a byproduct of the way that instrument has to be played. And the English concertina, you don't really have to think about back and forth as much. It's kind of continuous. So English concertina people usually think as more smooth flowing melodies and long drawn out drones and stuff, and Anglo concertina is a lot more movement. But Armin plays English more like an Anglo player.
Yeah.
Sometimes I try and mimic an English
Yeah,
style.
I
Uh,
don't actually know how to play like the usual English concertina style.
Both are versatile systems.
well,
Yeah,
you're both wonderful players, and I love it when you're playing together with both instruments together.
thank you. Yeah, that's one of the
Um,
reasons why we wanted to have the same maker make both of these, so that when we're playing in harmony or something, they just blend in.
yeah, beautifully, beautifully. Let's talk about this latest album of yours, Fresh from the Board.
Yeah.
Music from the Ocean State Songster, Volume 1.
Hmm.
I'm just going to sit back and listen. Tell me about this project.
Yeah, so this kind of the whole idea of uh, doing local music research stems from being at various festivals, pretty much anywhere where whether we're attending or they're on staff, inevitably you're gonna hear one musician who's gonna perform music that they've researched that's local to them. Like a logging song from like Minnesota or
Upstate New York or
upstate
Maine.
New York, or like family songs from Maine, or songs that they learned or tunes that they learned from like the Ritchie family.
You'll always hear at a folk festival that has varied types of styles. You'll always hear Appalachian music and Appalachian styles and Appalachian banjo tunes and Appalachian fiddle tunes. Like there's these strongholds of music in the Northeast and everywhere where it's one style, and places are still known for particular songs and tunes.
Yeah, and so we kind of got fed up with hearing so many people do
Inspired.
that. Yeah, yeah, inspired. And then we'd go on stage and be like, oh well, here are some old time tunes from some dude in Kentucky, or here's some Irish tunes that we learned a long time ago from old recordings or from a session somewhere around. And we thought there's got to be like Rhode Island music,
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
no matter how good those tunes and songs were, and no matter how much we liked to play and sing them, there was always that feeling of a missing piece, a disconnect. There's just a little bit of I don't know. We felt like we were borrowing this music from the folks who know it better than us because they grew up with it. And especially when it comes to Irish music, we played Irish music for so long, and Irish music is fun, and we will continue to play and have fun with it. But after a while, you think, I play all this music from across the ocean, and I know there's different types of tunes just in New England, like contra dance music. We don't play any contra dance music, so we wanted to see what was around for us to learn and spread and celebrate.
Yeah, and so it all just started with Google, pretty much. Just started typing in, like, Rhode Island broadside ballad or Providence jig. Just typing in and combining a bunch of keywords that might produce some results. And lo and behold, there's actually a lot of stuff. And a lot of it is archived at a bunch of libraries around, and specifically the one that we source from a lot is from the Ryder collection and the Harris collections. They're both at the John Hay, the John Hay Library at Brown University. And so there's a bunch of stuff that's been digitized, which is really nice. But then they have apparently just scores and scores of stuff that have yet to be debuted.
And one of the things, and now I'm just thinking of it more and more, back to Jeff Davis, he was kind of a big inspiration on us to look at, who would ever think to look for music from Rhode Island? It's so small. But Jeff Davis, one of his specialties is Long Island fiddle tunes. Who would have thunk it? And, he would regularly say, "Oh, here I work on this new one from this manuscript," and blah blah blah. And he'd pull out books like photocopied giant collections of tunes, and we're like, "That's all from Long Island? If that exists, there must be a couple tunes from Rhode Island."
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like finding the tunes was harder than finding the songs.
True.
Sometimes they're just, you might just see one little vague reference in somebody's 18th century copybook. And then even from there, you kind of have to determine, oh, okay, are they talking about, like Newport, Rhode Island, or is it Newport somewhere else?
Yeah.
Because isn't there like a Newport, Kentucky or something?
Newport News and
Newport News.
New Hampshire. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's one of the
Yeah.
and that was one of the more like bummers
Yeah.
is that we get super excited about finding out about, oh, whoa, okay, that's really cool. This is obviously a Rhode Island reference. We won't even bother to Google it.
Yeah.
We'll play it around for a while and then we'll decide, actually, we should probably check in on this. Turns out, very disappointingly, that it has nothing to do with Rhode Island at
But
all.
by that time, we've played it enough and taught it to people that we've co-opted it as a Rhode Island tune.
Well, there are some free interpretations. By the way, this is
There it is in all its
volume
glory.
one.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us where we can get a copy of this jobber here, and the book. Yeah, I haven't gotten the book yet. I'm going to pick one up on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yes. Where can someone go to grab a copy?
The internet serves all purposes nowadays. If you were to go to Google and type in the Vox Hunters, it'll bring you to our website, and from our website you could get redirected to our Bandcamp page and order it, a digital download immediately there, or order a hard copy and we'll send it
Eventually.
yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to reduce the amount of trips we take to the post office because it's not fun.
Yeah.
Recently signed up for this home post office thing, so we're trying to figure that out. Yeah.
All right. There's a couple of other things I wanted to ask you about. What would be your message to young musicians? Kids that are just starting out. They realize now that their path is going to be music.
If I was to kind of think back on how I was as I was first starting out, I was very prohibitively shy, and I would say for anyone who thinks like you can't jump into a pub sing where you've never led a song before, you can definitely do that. You try it out, you feel funny, everyone has a good time with you. Anything like that, any kind of social gathering around music, whether it's an Irish session or old time jam, a pub sing, people are exceptionally welcoming, especially around here. We could speak for Rhode Islanders.
Yeah, we try to, for the things that we host at the very least, we try to be very inclusive about who shows up and making sure that they're heard.
Yeah.
And that they have a chance to lead something if they want to.
And I'd say for instrumentalists, sing. Try singing. Go instrumentally naked for a little bit. Feel vulnerable. Get the music coming out of you rather than out of a machine for a little bit.
Yeah, learn how to dance. For sure. And that goes for singers and dancers. Obviously for dancers, dance. That goes for singers and instrumentalists. I found that when I started learning percussive dance and even swing dancing when I was in high school, I found that it made it a lot easier to approach the tunes and know how to play for dancers by learning how to dance. And that also works vice versa. Like dancers, I feel like, should also learn how to play an instrument, learn how to play the tunes that they dance to, so that you just have a better grasp on how those things interact. And then as far as for singers go, yeah, definitely just sing. Anybody can sing. Everybody can sing, and there are varying degrees of like tone deafness, and I've been meaning to like try this with somebody, but I feel like tone deafness is I'd like to think it's not a thing, but I haven't had a chance to work with somebody who says they are. But I think one of the more damaging things is when you're younger or whenever you go to sing something and somebody says, "Oh, that you shouldn't sing. That doesn't sound
Mhm.
right."
Mhm.
Or like, "Oh, you in the back, maybe just mouth peas and carrots while the rest of the chorus is singing." And that's like one of the most damaging things because we've met a number of people now, older, younger, doesn't matter what age, who they'll come to a pub sing or uh, or they'll be in the audience and we will tell everybody, please sing on the choruses because it's very boring if it's just us singing at you. It's got it. We have to have some sort of exchange of energy because it makes it more fun for everybody and everyone's more engaged that way. And we've had people come up and just be like, oh, well, thank you so much. That's so nice because it's great for them to hear everyone else around them who may not be that good either, or I don't know what good even means.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Well, I know that.
Our friend
yeah.
Deborah Cowan always says that her performances. Ooh, you cut out just a little bit there.
Hello,
Oh, hello.
Oh, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I was saying our friend Deborah Cowan always says that her performances that folk music isn't a spectator sport. That is, it's not always just sitting quietly listening. It's interactive. It's for everyone. And the other thing about what to tell younger folks getting into folk music, especially singers, is there's something to be said about practicing and striving towards something that you want, but there's also something really important about embracing your own voice and in your own style.
And your own accent.
Yeah, if you think that a song has to it depends on that Scottish accent or that Texas accent or something like that, just try to reinterpret it, like hear it as you would hear it, sing it as you would sing it, and see where it goes from there. Otherwise, you can copy and paste, a track that you've learned. You could be the copy machine, or you
Mhm.
could be a
Or
mixing bowl.
yeah, I that one of the more challenging things that I've found is singing Irish songs in my own accent. Just because I'm not of Irish descent. And one of the things that I'll sing on Saturday is, or yes, I've said it in this interview now, that means I'm definitely singing it.
Pressure's
Is,
on.
it's an Irish song called The Dark Slender Boy. And I'm now just, it's so, to start with, it's an English translation of the original Irish. So that's one thing. But, all the recordings I've heard are people who are Irish from Ireland singing with Irish accents. So now I also have to process that, and also not only to uh, make it sound like it's in my own accent, but make it sound like it's me singing it versus me trying to copy exactly what they're doing. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but it's a lot of fun and it's worth investing that time into it.
There's nothing worse than a fake accent.
Oh, it's cringy.
Really. So making it your own, I would
Yeah.
100% agree. We've
Yeah.
kind of we've kind of reached the end of our time here,
Oh,
but
that
I
was fun.
want to thank you very much. It's been very enjoyable. I've learned a few things, and as I'm sure the audience has. And well, I look forward to the next time I hear you live. And
That'll be very soon.
Yeah.
so Ben and Armand, thank you again, and I want to wish you a good day.
You too.
Yeah.
Nice talking with you, Tom.
Nice talking
Yeah.
to you. All right,
Thanks.
take care.
You too.